Okay, we're going to kick off now. So, welcome to everybody who has just joined. Excellencies, Chair of the Committee on Forestry, Director Wu, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good morning, and evening for those of you joining from all the different parts of the globe. My name is Lyndall Bull, and I'm the Value Added Innovation Coordinator within the Forestry Division at the Food and Agriculture Organisation located in Rome, Italy. I'm really delighted to be your moderator for this webinar today called From Policy to Practice, Scaling Up Sustainable Forest-Based Bioeconomy Approaches. Before we get formally started with the webinar, I'd like to guide you through the interpretation that is available. Interpretation is provided in 6 languages: English, French, Spanish, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian. If you look at the bottom of the Zoom screen where there's the different options, you should see a sort of a globe icon that says interpretation. Click on that and you can then choose your preferred language. So while the bioeconomy does lack a singular definition, here at FAO, we define it as the production, utilisation, conservation and regeneration of biological resources, including related knowledge, science, technology and innovation to provide sustainable solutions within and across all economic sectors to enable a transformation to a sustainable economy. It is considered as an option for helping to solve complex challenges related to climate change, biodiversity, food security, among others. And while estimations are difficult, the value of the bioeconomy is considered to stretch into the trillions and is growing. It's widely accepted that forests have a major role to play in the development of sustainable bioeconomy, and hence the importance of the development of sustainable forest-based bioeconomy approaches. This webinar today is the inauguration of a global webinar series on sustainable forest-based bioeconomy approaches. And the webinar series is an integral part of the country and organisation-led initiative, or COLI, on sustainable forest-based bioeconomy approaches. The webinar series is supported by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, Regions and Water Management of Austria and the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry of Finland. By way of background to the COLI, in 2024, together with partner countries and organisations, Austria started COLI to enhance forest-based bioeconomy approaches worldwide. In addition to Austria, Australia, Finland, Japan, Turkey, FAO and IUFRO are currently part of COLI's steering group. COLI is a process to exchange and elaborate different approaches in the field of forest-based bioeconomy at the global level. Its work contributes to the proposed actions of the Omnibus Resolution of the 19th United Nations Forum on Forests, as well as the latest programme of work of FAO's Committee on Forestry, or COFO. This webinar is the first of 6 webinars in the global series. And over the course of 2025, there'll be a wide range of webinars on topics related to the forest-based bioeconomy. This includes finance, supply chain considerations, agri-food systems transformation, the role of wood in the bioeconomy, and the importance of cooperation to advance the forest-based bioeconomy. We'll place in the chat the dates of the remaining 5 webinars in the series. So let's get started. I have to say, I'm completely thrilled at the variety of speakers that we have here with us today. To kick off the webinar series, we're bringing you perspectives from across the globe, with representation from the Director General of FAO, ministers from both Austria and Finland, and the Committee on Forestry's chair. And then following their perspectives, we'll move to applied presentations to give you a better understanding of forest-based bioeconomy concepts and policy achievements and applied insights from Africa, Asia and South America. I invite the audience to provide comments and questions throughout the webinar with both the chat and Q&A functions now open. So to kick things off, we'd like to launch a quick poll to find out which regions you're all joining us from. So there'll be a link in the chat, or you could use your phone to scan the QR code there. And I'll just give you all a minute so that we can look at where you are joining us from. Thanks, Francesca. Still moving around a little bit there, but I know there's some challenging time zones across the globe, so it's probably no surprise that we have very strong representation here in Europe. But I am pleased to see that, with the exception of Oceania, we do have some representation from across the globe. So thanks. So let's keep going. We'll have a couple more polls during the webinar today to keep it as interactive as possible. So now I would like to invite FAO's Director General, Mr. Chu Dong-yu, to deliver some welcoming remarks for this webinar on behalf of FAO. He will present those remarks via video, so we'll just get that started. Thanks.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, bioeconomy for food and culture is one of the important professional topics in FAO, as set out in our strategic framework 22-31. As the world faces mounting challenges from the growing poverty and hunger to resource depletion, biodiversity loss, and the climate crisis, we need action that emphasizes how forestry can drive a more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable future. FAO actively supports members in advancing their environment-friendly economy efforts, ensuring they are tailored to national context. FAO is also working with partners to build the global bioeconomy partnership for transformation of agricultural systems, to support the development of policy, strategy, knowledge sharing platforms, and capacity building efforts at all levels. The webinar series launched today will showcase joint action and a new theme on the forest-based bioeconomy approaches to advance sustainable development through the multiple efforts across science, innovation, and collaboration. Sustainable forest value chains are powerful engines of economic growth and providers of the livelihood, especially in rural areas. FAO assessment shows that the full economic impact of the forest sector contributes over $1.52 trillion to the global GDP and support 33 million jobs. Building on the sustainable forest management and forest-based economy approaches provide renewable forest products and services that can drive low carbon development and promote sustainable land use. We already see groundbreaking innovations such as engineered wood products for carbon neutral construction and non-wood forestry products that contribute to the food security, medicine, and cosmetics. These products can replace some non-renewable, high carbon footprint materials in key industries. Dear colleagues, these discussions will explore the potential of the forestry to sustainable development and seek possible solutions for all challenges related to natural disasters. I wish to thank the government of Austria and Finland for their support, and to all the participants for your active engagement. Let us continue to work together to strengthen the contribution of the forest to the transformation of a global agricultural system and to ensure the four betters: better production, better nutrition, a better environment, a better life, leaving no one behind. I thank you.
Thank you, Director General, for that informative introduction. I think it provides us with a really excellent understanding of the key contribution of forests and forest products to the bioeconomy and sustainable development, and the commitment that FAO has to the bioeconomy in general, and particularly forest-based bioeconomy approaches. So from there, it is now my great honour to introduce our next speaker, a key figure in Austria's commitment to sustainable development and the forest-based bioeconomy.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the first of 6 global webinars on sustainable forest-based bioeconomy approaches. This series is part of the country and organization-led initiative on sustainable forest-based bioeconomy approaches, or simply COLI. This was initiated by Austria with the valuable support of many partner countries and organizations. The demand for biomass is growing rapidly across the various industries, from construction, furniture, packaging, to renewable energy and biochemicals. In Europe alone, the forestry and timber industry secures 17.5 million jobs and contributes 1.1 trillion euros to the economy. This figures out that wood matters. Bioeconomy can and must play a key role in a sustainable future and competitive economy. But this requires robust data, investment, and innovation. Austria is fully committed and believes in a strong bioeconomy. This is why we support the sector via the Forest Fund and Wood Initiative with some 110 million euros and promote international collaborations like the Wood Policy Platform at pan-European level and COLI at the global level. The results and lessons learned from various COLI activities will feed into the COLI Summit, which will be held in Vienna in early 2026. And I would like to use today's occasion to warmly invite all of you to join us for this summit. Finally, I want to thank Finland for co-funding and the FAO for organizing this global webinar series. I wish you all an insightful webinar series.
Economy, the role of wood and forests in the bioeconomy, and Austria's support and leadership to its global sustainable development. It is now my pleasure to introduce our next esteemed speaker, Her Excellency Minister Sari Essayah, the Minister for Agriculture and Forestry of Finland. Minister Essayah, the floor is yours.
Of you, Your Excellencies, and all the participants of this webinar. It's a pleasure for me to give these opening remarks to this high-level webinar series of sustainable forest-based bioeconomy approaches. The topic of the series is of great importance as we face the triple planetary crisis with challenges of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. I strongly believe that sustainable forest-based bioeconomy approaches offer promising solutions for the future. Today, we aim to explore how we can bridge the gap between policy and practice in the bioeconomy sector. With increasing global commitments to sustainability, it is crucial to translate policy into practices that can be scaled up effectively. Finland has a national bioeconomy strategy since 2014. The recent update of the strategy has a vision sustainably towards higher value added. It changes the focus from increasing the use of biomass to creating more value. Our vision is to double the value added of the bioeconomy between 2019 and 2035. All sectors of the bioeconomy are important for Finland, but internationally, our unique feature is the dominance of the forest sector. That's because roughly 75% of the Finnish land area is covered with forests. Forest sector alone is 1/3 of the total value added of the Finnish bioeconomy. The focus of our national strategy on creating more from less comes from the realization that sufficiency of sustainable biomass is really a global challenge. According to the UNEP Global Resource Outlook 2024, demand for natural resources is expected to continue increasing in the coming decades. This means that without urgent and concrete action by 2060, resource extraction could rise by 60% from 2020 levels. This necessitates a shift towards sustainable resource utilization. As the demand for all raw materials is on the rise, we need to be more resource efficient and develop new methods to use the biomass sustainably. For example, biotechnology and its innovations build solutions for more resource-efficient use of biomass-based raw materials, as well as their side streams and byproducts. In the forest sector, wood-based chemicals and textiles are examples of biotechnology applications. Ladies and gentlemen, today I would also like to pay special attention to the importance of global cooperation. Sustainable forest-based bioeconomy approaches require collaboration across sectors, borders, and disciplines. This is one of the reasons why today's event is so important. It is very positive that bioeconomy in general and forest-based bioeconomy approaches in particular are currently experiencing a momentum globally. It is something Finland has been working on for a long time. We are happy to see the growing political interest of this sector, for example, in the recent high-level principles on bioeconomy that were developed under the Brazilian presidency of the G20. We are looking forward to more collaboration in this sector. One motivation for developing local bioeconomies is boosting resilience. There are many global problems arising from changes in natural conditions, but their impacts are unequally distributed between different regions. We must be able to share experiences with each other, because that is what helps to build resilient local economies. It is also important to support local bioeconomy policy and partnership development, because each region has its own set of natural resources, labor, and technology to build on. The well-being of humanity and the delivery of ecosystem services also depends on maintaining healthy and resilient forests and other ecosystems. Forests are invaluable, providing both market and non-market benefits that affect our well-being. Implementation measures must include future-oriented, sustainable forest management that reconciles the diverging needs of owners and other groups. Another perspective that I would like to highlight is that in policymaking, it is important to base decisions on data and science. In Finland, we have, for example, quite comprehensive data on forests. We have been conducting national forest inventories for more than 100 years, providing us with good information on the quality and quantity of forests. 2 years ago, we nominated a national forest bioeconomy science panel to foster science-based decision-making. I am happy to announce that today we will hear a presentation from the chair of this panel. Esteemed colleagues, I encourage all of us to think about how we can foster and strengthen partnership to achieve our shared goals. This webinar series is meant to be more than just conversations or briefings. I hope that this series will become a critical platform for collaboratively shaping the future of sustainable forest-based bioeconomy efforts worldwide. And finally, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, Regions and Water Management of Austria for this initiative and the FAO for facilitating the webinar series. So I wish you all an interesting webinar. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Excellency Sari Asaya, for your excellent address and for sharing really applied insights into Finland's proactive approaches to bridging the gap between policy and practice in the bioeconomy. Your insights from a country that has such rich forest resources and a forest sector that contributes such a large amount to the forest-based bioeconomy with commitment to innovation and cooperation are truly inspiring. My sincere thanks for your thoughtful comments and time today. Now, as we continue our journey of knowledge sharing and collaboration, it is now my honour to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Pierre Tati, the chairperson of the 28th session of the Committee on Forestry, or COFO. Mr. Tati brings a wealth of experience and a deep commitment to sustainable forest management. Mr. Tati will be speaking in French today, so if you need to use the interpretation channel there. And Mr. Tati, the floor is now yours.
Merci, Lindal. Excellences, distingués intervenants, chers collègues et participants du monde entier. Excellences, c'est un réel plaisir d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui pour le lancement de la série mondiale de webinaires sur les approches de bioéconomie forestière mondiale durable. En tant que président de la 28e session du comité des forêts COFO, je suis ravi de me joindre à vous dans cette importante conversation sur la manière dont nous pouvons intensifier les approches de bioéconomie forestière pour créer un avenir plus durable, inclusif et résilient. Lorsque j'ai pris mes fonctions de président du comité des forêts en juillet 2024, j'ai souligné que les défis auxquels nous sommes confrontés aujourd'hui exigent des solutions urgentes, des solutions qui nécessitent de l'innovation, de la bonne volonté et surtout la collaboration de nous tous. Les approches de bioéconomie offrent une voie claire pour concrétiser cette vision. Je suis fermement convaincu qu'une transformation de la bioéconomie vers des sociétés neutres en carbone et résilientes, tirées par des ressources biologiques renouvelables et soutenues par la science, la technologie, le savoir et l'innovation, n'est pas seulement possible, mais essentielle. Comme l'a souligné le directeur général dans ce message vidéo, la FAO a été un partenaire indéfectible, soutenant les pays dans leurs efforts en matière de bioéconomie. Cela est démontré par le cadre stratégique 2022-2031 de la FAO, qui fait de l'alimentation et de l'agriculture durable une priorité essentielle. Je suis particulièrement encouragé par la manière dont les organes techniques de la FAO, le comité des forêts, donc le 27e, et le comité de l'agriculture, donc le 29e, ont accueilli favorablement les travaux de la FAO et souligné l'importance de poursuivre le débat sur les approches durables de la bioéconomie. Ils ont appelé à un engagement et un dialogue accru avec les membres pendant la période d'intercession, en mettant l'accent sur la manière dont la bioéconomie peut contribuer à une alimentation et une agriculture durable. Cet appel à la coordination intersectorielle, à l'engagement inclusif et aux partenariats mondiaux doit rester au cœur de nos efforts. Lors du Forum des Nations Unies sur les forêts, notamment la 19e session tenue en 2024, les représentants de haut niveau de la foresterie ont réaffirmé la nécessité d'une collaboration plus étroite entre les secteurs et d'approche durable de la bioéconomie fondée sur les forêts, en mettant l'accent sur l'engagement des femmes, des jeunes, des peuples autochtones et des communautés locales. L'objectif est clair. Une bioéconomie véritablement durable et équitable qui ne laisse personne de côté. Selon le tableau de bord mondial de la bioéconomie de la FAO 2024, au moins 30 actions spécifiques à la foresterie sont désormais intégrées dans les stratégies nationales et régionales de bioéconomie, allant de la commercialisation des services écosystémiques à l'innovation technologique, ce qui témoigne d'un engagement croissant à libérer le potentiel du secteur forestier pour favoriser une bioéconomie durable. Des initiatives telles que l'appel ministériel sur le bois durable, lancé en 2022, et la déclaration finale du dialogue de haut niveau sur les voies directrices vers la neutralité carbone et la résilience de Wood for Globe ont déjà prouvé que les voies du bois durables peuvent être un outil puissant pour l'action climatique et la croissance économique. Cependant, malgré les progrès réalisés, l'intensification des approches de bioéconomie basées sur la forêt reste confrontée à des défis importants. Pour vraiment intensifier ces efforts, nous avons besoin des mécanismes de gouvernance plus solides qui intègrent la foresterie et la gestion durable des forêts dans les stratégies nationales et régionales de bioéconomie. Nous avons besoin d'une plus grande innovation pour construire des chaînes de valeur forestière inclusives et durables. Nous avons besoin des solutions de financement élargies pour accélérer la mise en œuvre et assurer des avantages équitables pour tous. Nous avons besoin de plus de collaboration, de partage de connaissances et de renforcement des capacités pour favoriser l'élaboration de politiques fondées sur des données probantes et de solutions adaptées au niveau local. C'est là qu'intervient la série mondiale de webinaires. Elle a été créée directement en réponse à l'appel du COFO 27 pour un plus large échange de connaissances, une collaboration en matière de recherche et un soutien politique dans les approches de bioéconomie fondées sur la forêt. Au cours de ces assises, au cours de ces sessions, nous explorerons tout, des données et des politiques aux chaînes d'approvisionnement, au financement et au partenariat, pour relever à la fois les défis et les opportunités des approches de bioéconomie fondées sur la forêt. Notre objectif est de libérer le potentiel transformateur du secteur forestier en réduisant la dépendance aux ressources non renouvelables et en construisant des sociétés positives pour le climat. Cette série de webinaires est plus qu'une simple plateforme d'échange de connaissances. C'est un espace de co-élaboration de solutions, de création de partenariats et de réalisation de progrès réels et tangibles. Ensemble, nous créerons une dynamique d'innovation et de coopération à l'image des grandes plateformes multilatérales mondiales telles que l'initiative de bioéconomie du G20 sous la direction de l'Afrique du Sud et la COP 30 au Brésil. En alignant nos discussions et nos résultats sur ces forums clés, nous veillerons à ce que les approches de bioéconomie fondées sur les forêts reçoivent l'attention et l'ampleur qu'elles méritent, façonnant ainsi les politiques nationales et les cadres mondiaux pour les années à venir. Avec la séance d'aujourd'hui, intitulée « De la politique à la pratique », nous commençons ce parcours fascinant. Je vous invite tous à vous y engager activement, à partager vos idées et à contribuer à façonner l'avenir des approches de bioéconomie fondées sur la forêt. Car je crois fermement que l'avenir de l'humanité s'écrira avec les arbres, les forêts, y compris les arbres et les forêts plantées. Je vous souhaite donc à tous une expérience fructueuse et inspirante pendant la série de webinaires. J'attends avec impatience les discussions à venir. Je vous remercie pour votre aimable attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tati, for your enthusiasm and insights and valuable perspectives that you've shared with us. I think I would speak for everyone on this call that we really appreciate your deep commitment to sustainability and highlighting, among others, the importance of cooperation, sector integration, innovation, finance, and ensuring the role of women, youth, and Indigenous peoples for the outcome of a balanced and sustainable bioeconomy. My deep thanks. And we're very much looking forward to your leadership in the lead up to and at the 28th session of the Committee on Forestry scheduled for 2026. So thanks very much. Okay, so we're going to move to another interactive part of the webinar. So we're going to launch another poll. So we might change to the PowerPoint there. Again, the link should be in the chat as well as a QR code that you should be able to scan. So this time, the question is, Which benefits of a sustainable-based bioeconomy do you find the most compelling? And please just choose two options to give us a little bit of a feeling for sort of priorities. Thanks. Give you a minute to do that. Oh, there we go. Okay, so looking at those colours. Oh, look, we've got some, it's a nice evenish spread, really. You know, those top three. So we're looking at promoting sustainable forest management, driving economic growth and jobs, and then a pretty even split, I think, between strengthening biodiversity and ecosystems and enhancing rural livelihoods and stakeholders integration into value chains. Excellent. Thanks a lot, everyone. That's really insightful. And I think that's a lovely wrap up to all the messages we've just heard from our really esteemed speakers in this first session of the webinar. So yeah, again, my thanks to all the speakers in the first session. It's been a fantastic introduction to this webinar, but also this webinar series. I think it really lays the ground well for a broad and interesting and insightful webinar, and then leading on to the webinar series. So we're going to move to the next section of today's webinar, and that we will have a keynote speech, and that will be followed by 3 applied presentations from around the world. So to start with, it really is my great pleasure today to introduce our keynote speaker for the webinar, Mr. Antti Asikainen. The Minister referred to Antti earlier, so he is the Executive Vice President for Research at the Natural Resources Institute in Finland, or LUK as it is known, and he's also the Chair of the Finnish Forest Bioeconomy Science Panel. So I can't think of a better person to kick us off and provide us with some insights and broad understandings around the forest-based bioeconomy. So Antti, over to you. The floor's yours.
Thanks, Linda. Excellencies and all the friends of forest-based bioeconomy. I will talk about inspired by the G20 initiative on bioeconomy principles, and I'm going to be highlighting 4 aspects. One is the climate change issue, posing challenges to the forest sector. Then also the robust and coherent policy network, which is essential for the further development of bioeconomy in any part of the world. And then I will talk about science and R&D and their roles to create added value. But let's move on around the world. So first part, really the natural disturbances in North America, but elsewhere, they are influencing the sourcing of biomass. Then there are a lot of ambitions towards forests, forest bioeconomy, and forest resources, which are leading to multi-layer regulation. And finally, I will talk about the visions for the value added from the Finnish perspective. So I start from the natural resources and their change due to the changed climate. And this example comes from Canada, from managed forests, and the time series starts from 1990s, and that blue line there describes the net carbon emissions of managed forests in Canada. And as you can see, in the shift of the millennium, year 2000, after that, the forests have turned from carbon sinks to sources. And these have been induced by very large insect outbreaks, also large fires, land fires, and this kind of dynamics we can see in different parts of the world. Really, the really the extreme of the carbon emissions in Canadian forests was in summer 2023 or fire season 23, where 3 billion tons of CO2 equivalent emissions were going to the atmosphere. And all this is reducing the raw material base for bioeconomy and makes us or forces us to be more resource efficient. Next slide, please. Now it's still the, yeah. And then the policy coherence, I take the example from the European Union where we and, for instance, Austria is living. We calculated in National Resource Institute Finland that there's 85 different kind of regulations that are influencing on the how we are managing our forests, what kind of products we are supposed to do from there, and also how we are trying to mitigate the climate change and stop the degradation of nature-based capital. Vast majority is coming from DG Environment and then from the Klima. But on top of that, there are initiatives coming from DG Grow and DG Agri. And often the climate and environment related targets are reducing the forest area available for wood supply. And then on the other hand, the DG Grow often aims, or DG Energy aim to increase the wood material consumption, either for raw materials or then for the energy uses. And on top of that, there is international level, like UN, United Nations level, and many other international commitments that are influencing partially our land use. And you can imagine if you are a forest owner standing next to your forest stand and wondering what should I do and what policies to take into account, you might get a bit confused. Next slide, please.
Sorry, Antti, I'm just going to interrupt you for a moment.
Right.
We have a weird black box problem. So I'm just going to stop sharing and resharing and see if that fixes it. We're not sure why it's appeared. Sorry to disturb your flow.
Okay, I think it's disappeared.
Yeah, it's gone now from my end. Great.
Right. So it often happens that there are contradictions between these policy goals and the outcome is and impact of the whole policy setting can be a bit difficult to interpret or predict. Next, please. Then I shift to the topic that our Minister Essayah already mentioned. We are committed to the value added, increasing the value added of forest-based production. It can incorporate either improving the current solutions like packaging materials, emerging textiles or construction materials, or bringing in future innovations to the commercial scale. There are materials, for instance, membranes for filtrating the water, air, and tissues that can be used not only for construction or materials, but also for healthcare. And some glues, like lignin-based glues, have already penetrated the market, and they are in commercial scale use here in Finland. But innovation is needed to bring these up, and after that you have to be able to bring them to the commercial scale. Next, please. And just to illustrate, if the goal for Finland to double the value added of forest sector even is possible, both in the Natural Resource Institute Finland and in a science panel we have made studies to show how this could be done. Primarily it means that we've got to refine the virgin pulp further for higher value added products like textiles in this picture, And we have to also produce more products out of lignin that we are traditionally using only for energy production, which is of course important itself, but by producing glues and even concrete plasticizers, we can get more income. And also same holds with the mechanized wood industry or mechanical wood industry, bringing in CLT and LVL products instead of boards and sawn timber. Next, please. And you can click a couple of more times so that we can see how very high added value products like biomedical applications, the cost of which can be millions of euros per ton or dollars per ton. The production volume, however, is very small if we are looking at the tonnage. And in the right down corner, you can find timber where the unit value is rather low, but the production volumes are large. So in Finland, we find or think that in this, let's say, mid-scale, in the middle of the picture where you can see textiles, pulp plus and other products, there is really the product family with very or relatively high value added, and on top of that the production volumes are big enough. Next slide, please. So Minister Essayah already mentioned that we often need to make a multi-dimensional, multi-science analysis about what we are when we are looking at forest-based bioeconomy. It's not only raw material, it is often also or always also it's a climate issue, as we heard before by the previous speakers, and then it's about the sustainability, responsibility, and biodiversity issues. And therefore, in the science panel like ours, we have representatives from the science of new products, climate, biodiversity, and also traditional forest sciences. And this is really essential when we try to make a let's say, longer to the future looking scenarios and evaluations on the impacts of different policy options. And there I really see the big potential of our expert groups worldwide, that decision makers could utilize our understanding to make and to value different policy options. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with a couple of maybe the last message, which is really mentioned in the high-level principles on bioeconomy. And bioeconomy needs to be based on country-specific approaches, because really one size does not fit all worldwide. With that, thanks once again for the opportunity to share these opinions with you, and looking forward to hear what next speakers are going to be saying. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Antti, for that impressive and insightful and interesting keynote presentation. Your overview of the forest-based bioeconomy, and in particular the many policies that influence the availability of forest-based resources for the bioeconomy, was particularly interesting to me. You know, as we navigate the challenges and opportunities around the availability of sustainable biomass, you know, it's such an important topic, but also really took particular note of the importance, opportunities, but also challenges associated with scaling up the broad range of innovations that you know, we have available to us with the forest-based bioeconomy. So thanks for the thoughtful presentation. And the last words that you gave us were perfect for our lead into our next suite of presentations. So in the second section of these applied presentations, we transition to a panel that will provide us with the regional perspectives and really pick up on Antti's comment about one size does not fit worldwide. So this panel will give us the opportunity to hear from 3 diverse countries, South Africa, Brazil, and Thailand. And of course, each of those countries will bring similar but also different and unique experiences, challenges, and innovations in the forest-based bioeconomy. So to start with, I'm really looking forward to and excited to present to our first panelist, Mr. Siyavuya Bulani, the Acting Director of Industry and Environment at the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation in South Africa. Siyavuya will share with us a South African perspective on the forest-based bioeconomy approaches, and the floor is now yours, Siyavuya. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Lyndon, and to everyone who's participating in this webinar series. This is an absolute pleasure to be here and sharing perspectives from South Africa. Slides, please. Can you maybe make it in slide mode, please? On slide mode, at the bottom, right next to where you adjust. Yes, thank you, right there. Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, it's not yet. But nonetheless,
I think we might be having some slide challenges. Are you?
Okay.
I'm guessing, Francesca.
Give me a minute.
Did you want to stop and start again, Francesca, maybe? Nothing like a few technical challenges to keep us all on our toes.
Indeed.
Oh, we've got our black box back. Try again. I have a feeling her mouse might be going. Oh, there we go. We'll do. Looks like that will have to suffice.
Okay. Should I proceed then?
I think
if it's
so.
not going into slide mode?
Yeah, it looks like there's some challenges.
Okay.
All right, I
let
think
me
just keep going.
proceed
Thanks a lot.
and not take and waste any time.
Yeah.
So as part of my talk, I'll go through the bioeconomy and just look at South African forestry sector and just touch on a forestry master plan that the country is putting together and some focus areas, and conclude with some indication around G20 initiative on bioeconomy and where we are as the country at this point in time. Next slide, please. So globally, several countries have developed strategies to expand and promote their economies. Some countries have a dedicated bioeconomy strategy, whereas others have partial bioeconomy strategies, and the rest have their strategies under development. Africa has the least number of countries with a bioeconomy strategy. Until recently, South Africa was the only country in the continent that had a defined bioeconomy strategy. Namibia launched its bioeconomy strategy in 2024, although not as defined as the South African bioeconomy. This was welcome news. And more importantly, in terms of this, was the development of the East African region bioeconomy strategy that was developed by the region. We hope such a regional strategy is going to inspire other regions in the continent in terms of developing their own bioeconomy strategies. Next, please. So South Africa forests occupy just about 1.2 million hectares of the land area. This is just 1% of the total land usage. And as such, South Africa is a lightly forested country. It is not forested at all or as much. But South African plantation forestry management practices and research are globally competitive due to better site species matching, advances in biotechnology techniques, and better silvicultural practices. And as such, South Africa is recognized as in the region as a leader in silviculture and forest management. And forest products contribute at least to about 4.5% to total manufacturing in South Africa, making it among the top 5 sectors within manufacturing. In terms of earnings, the country has tripled its earnings in the last 10 years, just coming close to about 10 billion rands in terms of revenue, and that a lot of forestry operations that are based in the country are in rural settings, making it a significant contributor to rural economies and well-being. And as such, forestry in the country is estimated to support about 700,000 livelihoods, and agriculture, forestry, furniture, wood, and paper industry provide the highest employment in the country. Next slide, please. In South Africa, forestry is one of the sectors prioritized under the Public-Private Growth Initiative, a partnership between the national government and the private sector to stimulate growth. The South African government and its stakeholders are developing a forestry master plan. The plan is in support of what we called in the country reimagined industrial strategy. And the objective for such are to encourage sector growth, investment, job creation, and competitiveness of the sector, and put greater emphasis on 5 subsectors of the forestry value chains that include the primary sector, pulp and paper, saw timber, board products, and utility poles and treatment. So, next slide, please. So forestry is a long-term crop, as we all know, and if crop failures take place, it is therefore requires many years for the replacement of crop to reach maturity, and this could lead to shortages. And as such, risks to crop failures should be given focus to ensure sustainability of the industry. And in the country, focus is given to pests and diseases through effective border management, availability of disaster relief funds, and biosecurity digital platforms. This is very important for the country, particularly in the movement of people between borders, because the idea behind controlling pests and diseases is through the movement between borders, and also one of the biggest issues of theft. In addition, the issue of fire protection is an important one. It is required to providing capacity to those that are involved in the protection of our forest in the country. And there's quite a lot of those that are involved in the country and have been given some capacity in terms of doing their work. But what also is important from our own end is the strengthening of RDI activities through valorization of waste material or circular bioeconomy. In the country, the use of timber in the built environment is at its infancy, and this is something that the South African government is growing in ensuring that people use timber instead of mortar and brick. SMME support is also another important aspect of the work that is done in the country in terms of supporting SMMEs to valorize waste into bio-based products. And in some sectors where there is some decline, such as the sugar industry, the idea behind that is to diversify sugar into chemicals and to other finer chemicals. Next slide, please. So we've had quite a number of speakers that were referring to the G20 initiative on bioeconomy, and as would recall that under its presidency, South Africa has decided to continue with the initiative on bioeconomy, which was started by Brazil, and linked to today's webinar and many other conversations. Emphasis on the first meeting were focused on accessing the bioeconomy development in the global south, with a focus on Africa in line with high-level principles 1 and 8 that make emphasis on sustainable development, eradicating hunger and poverty, food security, and ensuring that there is robust and coherent policy frameworks. And what the presidency in South Africa during this meeting focused on essentially was issues that talk to financial resources, accessing those resources should they be available, to looking at things such as products and standards and partnerships in strengthening the bioeconomy. In our second meeting, we will be focusing on two priorities that are of value to everyone who has interest in the bioeconomy, and more specifically in forest bioeconomy, and that talks to establishing global bioeconomy standards and matrices, and also financing of the bioeconomy. We look forward to engaging with those countries that are involved in this, in driving initiatives of the bioeconomy. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Siavia, for your insightful presentation. Your perspective on the G20 was particularly interesting, and I from a personal perspective, really picked up on those comments around metrics, which I think are vital. And thanks also for that overview of the South Africa's forest sector. It was insightful and interesting, and I certainly learnt many things about the importance of the forest sector in the bioeconomy in South Africa, but also generally for the country. So thanks very much. Moving on, it is now my very great honour to introduce our next highly esteemed speaker. We are very lucky today to have Professor Carlos Nobre from the Institute for Advanced Studies at the University of Sao Paulo, Brazil, as well as the co-chair for the Science Panel for the Amazon. I'm very much looking forward to Professor Nobre's presentation, focusing on the socio-bioeconomy in Amazonia. Professor Nobre, over to you. The floor is now yours. Thanks very much.
Good afternoon, Linda. Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you very much for being the opportunity to talk about the potential of this forest-based bioeconomy in the world. And I will focus mostly in the Amazon. I don't know if you can show, or you cannot put full screen here.
I think there's something weird going on with the sharing of the screen. So we
okay, well, let's do it this way.
I think we'll just keep moving. Thanks a lot.
Yes. Well, anyway, I will talk about the Amazon is very close to a tipping point. I've been doing research for 40 years about the Amazon. I was the first scientist, 1990, 1991, showing the risks of a tipping point if we continue with high deforestation. But now it's not anything predict for the distant future. The Amazon is very close to a tipping point. And that's why we need really immediately nature-based solutions. In particular, I will focus on the social bioeconomy of standing forests. Next. Yeah, that's what we call, because the Amazon is so close to the tipping point, and we say the tipping point because all southern Amazon, 2.5 million square kilometers of the forest, the dry season has become 5 weeks lengthier in the last 45 years, 1 week per decade. This is really very dangerous. As soon three more decades, then the dry season will be 6 months long, and this is the dry season of the tropical savanna, no longer maintained in the forest. So that's why we need what we call positive tipping points for Amazonia. These nature-based solutions act immediately. And so we talk about 4 such positive tipping points. Initially, zero deforestation, degradation, and fires. Fortunately, in the last 2 years, 2023, 2024, we have had significant reduction all over the Amazon, close to 60% reduction of deforestation in 2024 compared to 2022. Unfortunately, a record-breaking wildfires last year, in more than 150,000 forest fires in the Amazon. Unfortunately, most forest fires, they were man-made, and forest fires started by organized crime in the Amazon. Then also, to avoid the tipping point, we need to go large scale forest restoration, what we call arcs of restoration, which is really to restore large portions, not less than 500,000 square kilometers, ideally before 2040 to reach 1 million square kilometers. We have 2 million square kilometers of the Amazon, 50% deforest, 50% degradation is increasing tremendously because of fires, because of droughts. So we need. And then Brazil launched during COP28 the arc of restoration, restoring a minimum 240,000 square kilometers all over southern Amazon. So that's very important. Brazil has already started this forest restoration and restoring only with native species, minimum 43 native species per hectare, and also agroforestry systems, supporting a lot of agroforest systems. And then, of course, I will talk a little bit more about that. The social bioeconomy, we call social bioeconomy of healthy standing forests and flowing rivers. This is the bioeconomy of social biodiversity, the forest-based bioeconomy. And then, of course, we have also to value the indigenous peoples and local communities' knowledge. I will say a little bit about that next. Yeah, indigenous people, they've been in the Amazon for 15, 16,000 years. Something like 11,000 years, they were all over the Amazon. Look at that. This is true in all tropical forests on the planet with the indigenous communities. But in the Amazon, they use more than 2,300 products, more than 250 edible fruits, almost 1,500 medicinal plants, 350 essential oils, oil seeds, all those things. So this is a tremendous scientific development of indigenous people. For instance, they domesticated thousands and thousands of species, trees, but also potato, manioc, and many others. And we have to say thanks a lot to women. All indigenous scientists, most indigenous scientists, for thousands of years in the Amazon, they were women. So this is very important. We have to learn a lot. Next. I just want to say, next. Look at the challenge. This is just a few data for Brazil. Brazil has the largest biodiversity in the planet, 15, 18% of biodiversity, but look at that. Only 0.3, 0.4% of Brazil's GDP of all products of Brazilian biodiversity, 6% one product, beef, livestock. Next. And if we go to the Brazilian Amazon, look at that, 1.2% of GDP is all products of the biodiversity. The Amazon has 13% of all known biodiversity in the planet. 1.2 only, this is mostly acai berry, cocoa, Brazil nuts, etc. One product in the Amazon, beef, 17% of GDP. Cattle ranches, the main driver of deforestation in the lowlands in the Amazon, in the Brazilian Amazon. We have more than 1 million square kilometers deforested initially for cattle ranches, now more and more for also the soy crops. Next. So, and then when you look at, the social economy, the economy of these sectors, look at that. Cattle ranches, livestock, it's only a maximum $100 per hectare of profit, 1 to 2 workers per 100 hectares. Soybean, $300 maximum profit, 0.5 to 1 worker. But look at non-timber forest products, up $700 per hectare of profits per year, 20 to 40 workers, much better. These people in these cooperatives, they reached middle class. So then the big challenge is how to give scale. Next. Well, that's the value adding to forest products. This is our big challenge, how to do industrialization of the forest products. Next. This is really a social bioeconomy of the standing forests and flowing rivers, to combining our science with the knowledge of indigenous people and local communities for these innovative technologies. Next. We calculated only 171 biofactories all over the Amazon, 6.5 million square kilometers. You see, industrialization is very, very little for this new forest-based bioeconomy in the Amazon. Next. Then I want to say this project I'm involved, I'm developing a number of projects. One is Amazonia 4.0. We are capacitating communities producing cocoa to produce chocolate, and also another product similar to chocolate is called cupulate out of Cupuaçu. We capacitate 2 communities. It's this circular economy, solar energy, etc., etc. Next. And we are going to capacitate the first indigenous community in the Amazon now in the next few months. And also we are going to construct a biofactory for chocolate, first ever in Brazilian history. Indigenous community will really be benefited a lot from forest-based bioeconomy. Next. And also we are developing the concept of Amazonian Institute of Technology. We want to do a Pan-Amazonian Institute of Technology, really to give scale for the potential of these thousands and thousands of products. And this Institute of Technology, we have partnership with many institutes, MIT, Stanford, Fraunhofer in Germany, many universities in Brazil, has 5 areas: the forest, social biodiversity, Amazonian water, sustainable infrastructure, disturbed landscape, how to restore million square kilometers, and also urban Amazon. Next. Yeah, I just want to thank you a lot. And just to say, this is the challenge we have in the Amazon. We really to give scale to this new bioeconomy based on the forest, but upgrading tremendously the populations in the Amazon. There are 42 million people living all over the Amazon, but they are the poorest people in all Amazonian countries. So let's create this new forest-based bioeconomy and improve their livelihoods and maintain the largest tropical forest and avoid epidemics and pandemics. If we degrade all tropical forests, we're going to have 1 to 2 pandemics per decade. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Nobre, for your enlightening presentation. You haven't given me an easy task to come up with succinct sort of summary comments from what you provided us. There's just so much, I mean, it's such a rich presentation, your insights around positive tipping points, but particularly the role of a healthy and prosperous socio-bioeconomy to drive innovation and value adding, the role of biofactories. I mean, it was just so inspirational. And then your sort of closing words, of course, around the importance of local people in the Amazon. Yeah, our sincere thanks for sharing those insights and a lifetime of learning. We really appreciate it. Okay, so moving on to last but not least, for sure, final panelist of this session, Mr. Preacher Ong Prasert from the Royal Forest Department of Thailand. And I can see that Preacher has moved location now. So I'm glad that he's with us here today to share some insights from Thailand, including the BCG model and the role of the forest-based bioeconomy within that model. So Preacher, over to you. The floor is yours. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And good evening from Bangkok. That it is my great honor to give the opportunity to deliver and to share my experience here for the forest-based bioeconomy approaches in Thailand. But I have to apologize that if they have some of the noisy sounds here because right now on the boat cruising along the River. Okay, please accept my apology. So next slide, please. Okay, so I would like to say is that the bio-circular green economy, that is one that we would like to say from here, that is this is the agenda of the table of the content of my talk, that I will go quickly and one by one. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, I would like to start with the why that we call the bio circular and green economy that becoming the national agenda of Thailand so far. The bio-circular green economy model that presents a comprehensive strategy for Thailand to achieve sustainable development and economic resilience of the country.
Yes. I just need to interrupt for a moment. We do have a lot of echo in, I'm not sure whether it's, you've got a double mic or something, but yeah, do you want to try speaking again, perhaps?
Okay, I tried that too.
And someone else has suggested to mute your laptop.
Okay, can you hear me now? Or still echo?
Keep speaking.
Okay, that's I tried that to say. The bio-circular green economy models that try to focus on the biological resources, promoting circular practices and encourage environmental friendly in Thailand. So the country aims to reduce environmental impact by the fostering innovation and economic growth. Successful implementation of this model will require a collaborative effort from all sectors of society, commitment to policy reform, and ongoing public engagement. And then I will go into the details of the bioeconomy that we start with one. We emphasize on the sustainable use of biological resources to support economic activity. This includes agriculture, forestry, fishery, and biotechnology. By leveraging Thailand's rich biodiversity, the model aims to promote value-added products and services. So the next one, circular economy, this will focus on the waste minimization through the promotion of the recycling, reusing, and extending the life cycle of the product. This reduces the resilience on the virgin resource and decreases environmental pollution. Thailand is working to develop efficient waste management system and infrastructure, emphasizing the importance of the circular life cycle in production processes. So the last one is that green economy. We promote the reduction of the carbon emission and the transition to the renewable energy sources. The Thailand has encouraged eco-friendly practices across the industry, advocating for the green technology and sustainable practices to the both clinical and industrial sectors. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the timeline that we say the Thailand that has set up our national agenda by dividing into the timeline series. That over several decades, Thailand to get to the three economic development phases. In the first phase that we call the Thailand 1.0, that we emphasize on the agriculture sector. Then we came into the Thailand 0.2, which focuses on the light industries, enabling the nation to upgrade for the low income to middle income economy. And coming into the third phase, the Thailand 3.0, we focus on and the shift to the heavy industry to sustain economic growth. During this period, the Thailand economic growth becomes stagnant, facing the situation of the middle income trap syndrome. While the country was forced to confront with disparities and imbalance development. The Thailand is now mobilizing the country into the Thailand 4.0 by promoting the digital technology and the innovation that to create a successful and inclusive growth. So next slide, please. So with the forest-based economy in Thailand, that we would like to encompass the sustainable use and management of the forest resources to support economic development, enhance livelihood, and promote environment sustainability. The keeping Thailand a list of biodiversity and extensive forested area. The economic model aims to leverage the natural resources while ensuring the health and resilience of the forest ecosystem. Below are several key components and the consideration regarding the forest-based economy of Thailand. So next slide, please.
Preacher, do you want to try just taking off your headphones, because we are struggling to hear you very clearly. Speak again.
Okay, I will try that to fix like this. Can you hear me now?
It's not that great, but keep talking. You're on mute now. Okay, keep talking.
Okay. The first one is sustainable resource management. We emphasize on the sustainability, the forest practices that prevent the deforestation and promote the regeneration of forest, waste collection, and the marketing, which can provide the income to the countries that related to the forest management and biodiversity conservation. Then the major sectors that we emphasize on ecotourism. We develop the nature-based and ecotourism initiative, create economy opportunities for the local communities, fostering the application of biodiversity, and also we incorporate the local culture and traditional knowledge into ecotourism as well. The next one, for the beneficial, the biodiversity conservation, we integrate the biodiversity conservation into the economic planning to ensure the forest ecosystem and impact and continue to provide essential services. And we also empowering the local community conservation effort through the participatory management approach to increase the forest resources maintaining. And the next one, that for the livelihood of the people, we support the community-based forest management initiative, allow the local population to deliver the direct economic benefit from the sustainability. And also the climate change mitigation, the forest serve as a carbon sink that contribute to the climate change mitigation ecosystem services. Okay, and including the water purification, the soil sustainability, and the climate regulation. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much for giving my time. I'm so sorry if they have some of the noisy and there's something like could not hear it clearly.
Thank you, Preacher. Thank you for the insights from Thailand, particularly the BCG model and the important role that the forest economy will play within the Thailand 4.0 vision, particularly around technology and innovation to create sustainable growth. So thanks very much for those insights. We appreciate it. So we have about 10 minutes for Q&A. So feel free to send in your questions. We have a few already. So I might start with this question from Sylvia Malagari to which I think is aimed at our keynote to Antti. Sylvia's from the European Organisation of the Sawmill Industry. I'm going to paraphrase your question a little, Sylvia. So Antti, in Finland, reducing sawn timber production to prioritise other bioproducts due to an expected decline, or is Finland reducing sawn timber production to prioritise other bioproducts due to an expected decline in high quality wood supply? And wouldn't it be better to improve wood mobilisation and increase raw material availability rather than limiting production?
Thank
To
you.
your thoughts.
Very good question. First, I took the examples from the fiber industries, but that doesn't mean that we are reducing the volume or the share of mechanical wood processing industries. What we are doing or trying to do is to further process also the sawn timber to LVL, which is the board or construction material for a block of flats, and also the CLT, which are still mechanically processed timber products, but they have a much higher value per ton or per cubic meter. The challenge in Finland is actually that we can't mobilize more timber today. We are harvesting quite a lot of wood for the industries in comparison with the growth rates currently, and also the share of energy production has been increasing quite a lot in recent years when we have been replacing coal and oil, natural gas with wood. So we have to, let's say, increase the price per ton rather than the amount of wood mobilized and processed. Did I answer your question? I hope so.
Was very comprehensive. Thanks very much. I am going to ask a question of our panelists. If you maybe want to turn your videos on. Preacher, I'm not sure whether you're in a position to answer or not. But I am going to ask the question that's been provided by Mar Tassa Ramos. And that question is, how do you balance economic gains, conservation, and cultural preservation in the bioeconomy? And do you have any implementation frameworks? Siavuya, did you want to provide any insights there?
Yeah, I would want to give it a shot. It is a complex one, and particularly in a country like ours that is as I indicated, lightly forested. And the idea of balancing all of those, especially economic gains, and making sure that on the other hand, there is sustainability, that is usually the major issue. But as I've indicated, in South Africa, what we are working on, it is a master plan that seeks to guide that, that ensures that there is proper use of available resources. So you are able to harness and create jobs, get investment, but making sure that you are not overutilizing your resources. So we have that at hand. As I indicated, our forest management principles are quite solid. So we are able to tackle some issues that pertain to balancing that act. Thank you.
Thanks for the insights. Professor Carlos, did you want to have a go at that question? Did you want me to repeat it?
Yeah, I would just want to add one more big challenge, which is, as I show, cooperatives in the Amazon producing many cooperatives produce more than 50 products of biodiversity. The people there, they reach middle class, they are much better off. But why we have such a slow scale for this new bioeconomy, forest-based bioeconomy? Well, I make an analogy with fossil fuels. Subsidies of fossil fuels globally are trillions of dollars per year. Subsidies. So, this continuing with tremendous political power, tremendous risk of climate change. Equivalent, when we look at the economy of Amazonian countries, particularly I'm talking about Brazil, also subsidies for expansion of livestock, soy crops, and many others is tremendous, tremendous, billions and billions and billions of dollars in Brazil. So it's a big challenge. We have really to get rid of subsidies for fossil fuels, but also for all these expensive livestock and soy crops in Brazil. So that's a big challenge, not easy, because economically this sector is very powerful, but also politically. And now also, as we know, the populism politicians, they are being elected. We've seen that in the US. So this is a big challenge because these populist uh, politicians, they support fossil fuels, they support this destructive agricultural. So that's a big challenge we have to face.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, really insightful and useful. Preacher, are you in a position to try and answer that one, or is it a bit noisy where you are?
Yes, I can try. I move that to another place. Maybe it's quite to talk to. Okay, can you hear me very well, right?
Pretty well, yes.
Okay, lovely. So for the forest-based bioeconomy in Thailand, it's quite very new, and because it's becoming the national agenda. So we would like to say that for the government of Thailand try a lot that to encourage all the sectors of Thailand, especially for the tourism sectors, because the tourism sectors can encompass for all the sectors in Thailand that to promote for bioeconomy, especially for the forestry sectors that are working for. Then the one thing that we would like to emphasize is that we can use the forest resources as a base meant for developing the bioeconomy, especially for some non-timber forest product, and combine it into the Thai food. So people will aware is that for the Thai food is quite among the famous of the food around the world. So one is the ingredient we produces a lot of the recipes that using the non-timber forest product. When they combine with the cultural and the odors of the whole heritage site, so it will become that a very huge ingredient that to promote for bio economy. And another thing is that for the something like the climate change mitigation, that we use the forest sectors as a carbon sequestration source. Then the community forest is one of our measures that to use the forest resources in terms of sustainable forest management. And also for the next generation, we set up for the youth program, helping for handover for the management of the community forest from this generation to the next generation. So it means that for the sustainable forest management that we can do for in the long run, and at the same time that with the supporting of the government, like now we can promote for more than 12,000 community forests across the country with the areas that cover more than 1 million hectares. That's the one I would like to share. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Preacher. Okay, so as often happens, we start to run pretty tight with time and not enough time for Q&A as we'd always all like. I'm going to put our speakers a little bit on the spot. We have literally like 1 minute to spare, so you have to be brief. I'm going to slightly paraphrase one of these questions. So the question was, which specific innovations are likely to transform forest-based bioeconomy in developing countries? I just want from each of our panelists one innovation that you think, just that we should be interested in, where do you, which innovation do you see the most promise in the forest-based bioeconomy approaches? I'm going to go across the screen as I see my panelists. Antti.
Well, first, the full utilization of byproducts of any forest-based bioeconomy processing plant. There is still room for improvement, and bringing the best available technology and adapting it across the world. Of course, it's got to be cost efficient, it's got to be appropriate for the conditions. But with these two things, I think that the resource efficiency and raw material utilization could be greatly improved.
Excellent, thank you. Siyavuya?
Thank you. I think from our end, integrated biorefineries have got to be central in ensuring that there is generation of a new generation, excuse the pun, of chemicals. And there's a potential here for getting some of these. And SMMEs have a much bigger role and a room to play, including young people and women, to contribute to development of bio-based products that include biochemicals or bio-based chemicals. Thank you.
Excellent, thanks very much. Professor Carlos?
Yes, well, exactly. Innovation is what we are trying to do in the Amazon, which is bringing Industry 4.0 and really to merge this modern industrialization with the knowledge of indigenous people and local communities. This is a big challenge, but certainly it's absolutely necessary to improve, to save the Amazon and to improve the livelihoods of all Amazonian population.
Thanks a lot. And last but not least, Preacher, and we need to be succinct because I'm going to, we have a time limit on our interpretation today. So Preacher, last comment.
Yes, I would like to go back into my slide presentation that I would like to focus on our national Thailand agenda, the BCG model, bio-circular green economy. So it applies to all the sectors in Thailand. Within politics sectors, one thing that we would like to emphasize here is that to promote for the value-added product, not only from the non-timber forest product, that is coming from the direct benefit, but also indirect benefit like ecotourism, the cultural tourism, and also the strong point that we call the soft power of Thailand. That's the food that got the ingredient and recipe from the quality basis product. That's all we'd like to share. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Preacher. I am going to keep moving. So we have about 5 minutes left and I want to be able to finish up nicely. So thank you to all our speakers. I'd like to acknowledge and thank all the effort that you've put into those reflections that you've shared with us today. But now, without further ado, I would like to hand the floor over to our FAO Forestry Division Director, Mr. Jimin Wu, who is going to provide us with the closing remarks for this webinar. Mr. Wu, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Lindo. Excellencies, distinguished panelists, participants from around the world, dear colleagues, before we conclude this global webinar, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to Dr. Chi Dong-yu, FAO Director General, His Excellency Norbert Toschnig, Federal Minister of Agriculture, Forestry Regions, and Water Management of Austria, Her Excellency Sari Essayah, Minister of Agriculture and Forestry of Finland, and Mr. Pierre Tati, Chairperson of the 28th session of COFO, for their opening speeches and also the high-level support and guidance they provided. I would also like to extend our sincere thanks to the panelists and participants for your contributions today and for your commitment to advancing sustainable forest-based bioeconomy approaches. The opening session highlighted the spirit of international cooperation. We heard from distinguished leaders who emphasized the critical role of sustainable forest-based bioeconomy in addressing climate change, economic resilience, and sustainable development. We took stock of global policy achievements such as the G20 high-level principles on bioeconomy, underlining the progress made and the challenges that remain. We have seen that although many countries are integrating forest-based bioeconomy into their strategies, there is still a need for more comprehensive framework, better coordination, and increased investment in research, innovation, and sustainable value chains. We heard regional perspectives that showcased the diverse approaches being adopted worldwide, from South Africa's effort to align industry, research, and bio-innovations for sustainable development, to Brazil's social bioeconomy model, which actually prioritizes social equity, indigenous peoples, and community well-being, to lastly Thailand's strategy, which integrates circular economy and biotechnological principles. So all these examples underscore the importance of context-specific solutions and reinforce the universal need for sustainable practices, also inclusive governance and stakeholder engagement. Today's discussion has demonstrated that scaling up efforts is both possible and necessary to tackle pressing global challenges. As we move forward, I want to share some takeaway messages from today's discussions. Firstly, the need to scale up policy coherence to integrate sustainability, economic viability, and social inclusion in forest-based bioeconomy approaches. Secondly, the importance of strengthening cross-cutting collaboration to unlock the full potential of forest bioeconomy approaches. Thirdly, the role of innovation, technology, and research in driving new opportunities and ensuring sustainable value chains. Last but not least, the need for inclusive governance and stakeholder participation, particularly ensuring that smallholder farmers, indigenous peoples, and local communities are deeply involved in decision-making and benefit from bioeconomy approaches. So today we have initiated a journey of dialogue on scaling up sustainable forest bioeconomy approaches, and we look forward to continuing it in future webinars in the series. Your continued participation and your expertise and commitment will be instrumental in shaping the conversation and the search for sustainable, impactful solutions. So we look forward to seeing you all again in the coming webinars. So finally, allow me to offer my sincere thanks to our co-chairs, Austria and Finland, for their leadership. With that, I hand over to our moderator to close the session. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Wu, for the excellent summary of the webinar. So it provides a great overview for us, and in order to close right on time, I will keep moving. Mr. Wu has just provided a comprehensive thanks to our esteemed panelists, the two ministers, Mr. Pierre Tati, and of course our own Director General. So I express my thanks to them as well as to our partners Austria and Finland. A heartfelt thanks to all the organisers for making this event possible. And I just want to do one call out with a thanks recognition of the importance of youth. I have seen your comments in the chat and the Q&A, so rest assured that we will take those on board as we move forward in future webinars. Finally, thank you to all of you who have joined us today from around the world. We hope you've enjoyed this first webinar of the Global Webinar Series and have learnt something. The next webinar will be on the 29th of April, Financing the Future, Unlocking Investments for a Thriving Forest-Based Bioeconomy, and we hope to see you there. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.